Happy solstice live stream, everyone. Okay, I can see a few people on, and we have a really special live stream today. For solstice, we're meeting live on December 19th, 2 days before the solstice. And I did not get to send this link out. And so I'm not sure how many people will be here live. I did post it on Instagram. And so I'm hoping a few people see it. I know that YouTube has not necessarily been sending out the notifications when I go live. So that's a good reminder to say, please, if you're subscribed to the channel and if you would like to be notified when we go live, make sure to come back, hit the bell, hit all notifications. We don't go live that often, although I will be going live more often. And make sure that you get it. And if you got the notification, will you let me know? I'm just curious. I'm super excited to be here today. I have three announcements, and the third announcement is the big one. And so I'm just going to take a moment and take a breath and take a moment to take in this moment. It's December 19th and 2023. Today is the 11-year anniversary of the Art of the Feminine podcast. And so I took a moment to think about it before I came on today. And to really think about, oh, good, that's good to hear. Okay, so just make sure that you have the notification button on, and hopefully we'll get it built up as we enter 2024, because we have some really special things coming. But I was thinking about the first time I went live. We started out on audio back in 2012, and the very first Art of the Feminine podcast was called the Light Body Woman Global Teleconference. And if you were on that, let me know. Thank you. That was a really big deal. That was when I had started the Facebook page, and I had been doing the work in the Divine Feminine for years. And I was sitting with a really vast body of work. And as we went forward, we ended up channeling in and anchoring in an epic, I will say a mythical body of work around the divine feminine wisdom. And we still have all of that. We have 65 episodes that are held in the Divine Feminine Wisdom School. And those are really the foundational teachings for everything that we do. And it has just only expanded and expanded and expanded. But I was thinking back to that first day, and we were originally scheduled to go live on 12/12/12, but I ended up coming down with the flu, which is something that's probably the last time I was sick. And thank you, Shay, that ended up being a really, really tragic week on the planet. There was some big things that took place that week. The week of December 12th, it was 12/12/12, and it was the lead up to the December 12th solstice portal, the big one. And so I had to postpone that first teleconference to December 19th. And I knew the 19th would be a really good day, but I was just thinking back to it was on the phone, it was audio, and I was so nervous, and I still wasn't feeling all that great. But once I came on, I knew that we were in for something really, really special, because I felt the power. I was living out in the country more too, and I felt the power come in. And had I known what I would be carrying through that podcast over the next years, honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to consciously agree to it, because the level of initiation that paralleled the speaking of those words was so profound and so deep and almost punishing, day by day, moment by moment. So to speak the words, there was an energetic alignment taking place that required many things to come that activated vision in the underworld, the ability to see the feminine side of the bondage and to not only see it, but to live it. And I had already had a huge history, but this was another level. And it was a level that I did not see coming, but that was the power of the Art of the Feminine podcast. And so just taking a moment to bless all of you. There's many, many people who have taken part, some who I have lost track with over the years. And it was originally on iTunes. And as we enter 2024, I hope to connect with every last person that was part of this work going back since 2012. And I've been teaching since long before that, but this was the anchoring of something special. And it was really before everybody had a podcast. It was kind of new to have a podcast in 2012. And so I'm eternally grateful and really happy to be here today. Okay, let me just see where we need to go. All right, so I know what I want to say. If you did not see the last video, the last transmission, it was 1 week ago on Tuesday, and it was called The Descent of Darkness. It was for the Sagittarius new moon, but every video I do contains a goddess report that is universal and that is applicable for all coordinates of time and space, meaning it's in the now. And so every video on this channel, and there's many, have a download that even if it was for a particular moon or a solstice, it contains a universal message. So all the wisdom is encoded in all of those videos that are up now. But the last video, and one of you told me, I received a message today from one of you telling me that you listened to it 5 times. And I believe it. I think I listened to that 5 times, and I don't always listen to my own work, but that video, I when I give these goddess reports, if I go back and watch it, sometimes I'm just held in the frequency of that download and that transmission, and I'm receiving it over and over. I think I listened to that one about 5 times too. It's very important. And so because of the algorithm, you will see the views are not high. And there's a reason for that. But please, if you're interested, this is a crucial one. Go back and listen to The Descent of Darkness. It's the last video on the channel. Okay, and in that video, I talked a lot about light body tantra. I'm not going to go into details about it now, but I am going to just re-mention it. And if you're, oh, I can't wait to see what you're saying. If you are interested in light body tantra, you have to take part in this course. It's starting January 22nd. It is the holy of holies, the crown jewel of the Light Body Woman curriculum. All of my work has been on the Christ force and healing sexuality, but especially feminine sexuality and fertility. This has been the calling. In fact, that is encoded in my name, my old name that I had when I was a child. I won't say it here, but maybe I think I mention it in my upcoming writing. So I didn't actually know that, but that it was my mission, my divine feminine mission, to heal fertility and to heal sexuality in this lifetime. And we're going to be talking a lot about both fertility and sexuality in the Archetypes of 2024 video, which is happening on New Year's Eve. Just a reminder of that. So Light Body Tantra is the course on sexuality, but not only just physical union, it's the entire work about the auric field and the energetics of the sexual force. We call it the solar feminine dragon goddess, or the solar feminine dragon force. This is the work of this age, and we hold a frequency. It's not just words. It's a level that when I teach it because it's been my initiation, and every level has been lived in 7-year cycles. And so by living through these codes, when I speak it, that energy comes through and it transmits what I call the solar feminine. It becomes the Venusian body and the Venus initiations that are given through the power of the word. And so the link will be under the video. I've already said, but it's an unbelievable special, and it's a 7-day course where we're going to meet every day for 7 days. But if you cannot join us live, you'll be enrolled in the container. You'll have 3 months to watch the videos over and over. It's going to be really fun to take part live, though, even if you can only catch a couple of them live. The link for that is under the video in the description. It's also on Art of the Feminine at Instagram in the link tree. It says Black Friday special. You can use that link. Just go ahead and use it. It's the same price as Black Friday. And I said I would leave that up until Christmas Eve. And so I would just say, make sure to do it. It was normally $1,100. I'm doing it for $333. The price will go up. It's going to change, and it's going to go to a higher price in January. And then it will go back to the original price on my website. So the other thing is that the second announcement, and the third one is the big one, that we have the Divine Feminine Wisdom School, which officially opened this past summer in July. It's a year-long professional curriculum, which is what we call this body of work, the Divine Feminine Wisdom. It houses the 3-month mentorships and every other course that I've taught, and then much, much more. And it holds the Art of the Feminine podcast. It's really enough material for 3 years, but right now we have it as a 1-year curriculum. And that up until January 14th, that includes private mentorship with me monthly, only up until January 14th. In fact, I think we can only take 3 more people with that, and then it maxes out. But it also includes a master class every month and a lecture that is really, really deep. Again, these lectures, we call them the feminine esoteric codes, they will be going along with the curriculum. And I would just say, if this is the path of your life and this is your life's work, this is an unbelievable school. It does not exist anywhere else. And I know that because I've been doing this work my entire life, especially since 1992. And it's only growing. But I just want to say that link again will be below. It's called Divine Feminine Wisdom School. You sign up for an appointment with Lindsay, and she will give you every detail of it. There's a lot, but she'll just walk you through it, and she'll really support you in making your decision if it's right or not. She's really good at that. That link again is on Art of the. Make sure to come join me. You'll see when I have the third announcement. Make sure to sign up for the social media, Art of the Feminine on Instagram, Art of the Feminine on Facebook, because there's a lot coming, and I've been only posting sporadically for the past few years because of what I've been working on. That is going to change. So make sure you're on social media, Art of the Feminine. Let me just double check if I've said everything. So Light Body Tantra, January 22nd, Divine Feminine Wisdom School, enrolling up until January 14th for the year. And the third announcement is something that last year in the Solstice live stream, I talked about it. And so 1 year to the date, I'm here to announce that 1 month from today, on January 19th, will be the release of Light Body Woman. And so this is the book that goes along with all of my work. And it's a book that has been written since the early 2000s. It was supposed to be published in 2012, and due to many, many unforeseen events, it has been delayed until now. There was a deep, deep, deep passage required for the release of this book. But 1 month from today, in January, we will be releasing Light Body Woman. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can even say. It's right now there are no words that I can really put on it other than this year the theme is the restoration of the divine feminine temple, and that is what is contained within this book. It is something that has never been on the planet before, and it is something that has taken a lifetime to give birth to. And so I'm beyond excited to announce that today. And let me just take a moment and see if there's anything specific to say. This book will change the world. I was told in the Akashic Records in a session 7 years ago, and I had worked in the Akashic Record for many, 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 many years. But at one point, I asked why. There had been so many blocks, and why it had been painful to carry it for so long. And the masters, the divine feminine masters I was working with said, they just said, because this book will change the world. And I knew in that moment, they had never said it quite like that, but I realized what was being carried in and what was being birthed. And so today at the solstice portal, where we are really celebrating the birth of the Christ force, the birth of the solar feminine Christ force, we celebrate the birth of light body woman coming in 2024. We celebrate the restoration of the feminine temple on this planet and the birth of the solar feminine Christ impulse in humanity and in the collective womankind. And so, welcome to our solstice live stream. That was a long intro. I hope that some of those announcements will apply to you and interest you. And it's just really an honor to be here today. And, I think maybe even having a smaller crowd today is intimate. And so I will be sending this video out on the day of solstice, and it will be seen by a lot more people. And so, oh, I'm so excited just to see you. It's so nice to see you. So nice to see you, Cheryl. So nice to see you, and Maria, and Trisha, and Krissa, and Shay, and Trishalist, and Brianne, and I Am Love Light, and Sonia. So nice to see you. We are going to be doing a special when we go into the Stargate today. We're going to be sending some light for everything that's happening. As you know, what's happening on the planet right now is really, really, we talked a lot about it in the last video. There's a lot of war, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of strife, a lot of internal conflict happening. It's at a peak, but truthfully, we're only the beginning of the changes that are coming. All the archetypal rumblings taking place on this planet are preparing the way for the birth of the Christic human race. So the human race that is receiving the Christ impulse, and we work with Christ as the universal energy of the soul and spirit, the integrated soul and spirit, the son of the divine and the daughter of the divine. When humanity is raised and elevated into their truth, as a human race, we will take on that title collectively. And that is the work that is happening right now in these times. And that's why there's a lot of turmoil and a lot of upheaval. And I was shown this morning when I was tuning in that on the astral plane, the spiritual battle that's taking place, and we've talked about it. We're going to try to stay in the positive today, but the battle between the forces that's happening on the astral plane is the fiercest that it has ever been. It's a battle for your soul. And so I believe I have a very short goddess report today. It's only 3 pages long, but it's a battle for your soul. And what that means is that it's a battle for your womb. It's a battle for your auric field. It's a battle for your creative imagination and what we call the goddess technology. Because at this time, we decide who we are going to serve. You cannot serve two masters. And it's the tides are rising. They rise before they split. And so right now, the forces are up against each other and they're rising up the middle pillar and splitting. And in that opening is something very special that we call the Upper Eden. And if we're able to ride that current, the divine feminine current of the solar feminine dragon goddess, and choose the Christ as our true identity within. And I know that the word Christ is connected to religion on the planet, specifically Christianity, but it's really universal. The Christ is the Buddha. The Christ is the Son of God. And the Christ impulse as of 2,000 years ago held a very specific activation for the planet. And that's why it spread, it proliferated. There's a lot of different teachings around it and many conspiracies, but the truth is that cosmic impulse fertilized the goddess and began a new cycle for her children on this planet to really begin to rise. And in fact, last night I was thinking about the prodigal son and the coming home to our father and our mother in the kingdom of heaven, and which is a state of mind, but it's also a frequency on this earth, which we call the divine feminine kingdom. And so that's what this work is about. And during these times of strife, of suffering, of pain, of death, of war, of mass field of technology, just sort of saturating the heart and the mind, keep the joy of the birth at this holy solstice day. Remember that birth is happening within you, and guard it and protect it with all your might, with your heart. The power of the heart is the power of the divine feminine. Do not let your heart become toxic. Do not let your heart become, take on the entities that want to only sabotage it and make harder and harder fortresses around it so that it cannot receive the currents. It's very important right now to learn to navigate these times and to be able to understand what it means to rebuild, and restore the divine feminine temple on this planet. And so we'll start with I am in the 7 directions, and then I talk about the Star of Bethlehem and the Star of Venus shining over the Divine Mother, the Virgin Mother in the underworld. And we'll be doing this activation. We'll go into the Stargate and we'll do a light body womb and a light body birth meditation. And so let's just do I am in the 7 directions. The I am represents the Christ. It's the birth of the Christ in your field. I am is a cosmic mantra that is connected to Venus through some very deep esoteric codes that we work with here. I am the law of sacred union. The law of the sun and the moon. The law of sacred marriage. The law of the healed auric field, which is the true womb of the Christ light. And so as you repeat after me to kick off this solstice live stream, just imagine that from your heart, the cradle of Venus, the cradle of the Venusian feminine spiritual forces, the solar feminine forces. You see these forces emanating into your field. We always say Venus is the transmitter of the Christ force, and her seat is the human heart. And so, from your heart, from your holy womb, the emanation of the solar feminine into your field activates the 7 portals of light body yoga, the 7 portals of light, your Merkaba field, your auric field, the Star of David, which is amazing because at this time there's so much happening with these archetypes. It's unbelievable, the timing of everything. And so just taking this moment to really see yourself on the throne of your own identity as I am, as the sons and daughters of the divine, repeating after me, I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. Please take a deep breath in and hold. And as you suspend your breath, just imagine this vortex in your heart really spinning with the sun, the solar feminine Christ force, activating your entire field, your divine body of light, your solar feminine body of light, and then exhaling it all out. And now we always activate the divine plane, the spiritual plane, and the physical plane with I am, I know I am. I, the sound current at the level of a whisper activates the heart in the spiritual plane, in the higher astral plane. In pure silence, we travel into the divine plane of the higher mind. And at the spoken sound, we activate the physical world with the sound of our spoken word that flows through our activated throat chakra, which is what this work is about. So, okay, it's really, really special to be here today. It's the solstice is one of 4 really powerful portals. The solstice is that we have 4 portals that are extra superpowers throughout the year and throughout the zodiac calendar. And so oftentimes people ask me about the astrology I work with, and I work with this astrology because we follow the path of the sun through initiation and through the equinoxes and the solstices, which really represents the divine feminine initiation and the activation of the solar forces. And so at the equinoxes, we're really representing the polarity integration and the equality of night and day and the divine feminine and the masculine. At the solstices, we go into the depths of the darkness and the absolute brilliance of the light. And so winter solstice, where it's winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, represents the darkest day of the year. And so we're live on the 19th. Winter solstice this year is on December 21st, which falls on this Thursday, and it will be the shortest and darkest night of the year, or the longest and darkest night of the year, excuse me. And then summer solstice is the shortest night with the most amount of light. And so that is why it comes in alignment with Christmas and the birth of Christ and Yule and all there's many, all these archetypes are universal. When we step out of the world of polarity and duality, and we can't really step out of the world of polarity, but when we withdraw from duality and from the mind struggle of the right and left brain and of the battle that takes place on the level of the egoic mind, which is where most of humanity operates, we're able to penetrate and understand the universal archetypal codes. And so that is the language we call the language of the goddess, because that is where we start to receive the true information. And we begin to decode our reality from our heart. We begin to activate the heart's vision, and we begin to be able to use the Christ force to activate the pentagram and to activate the 5 awakened senses that aren't trapped in this envelope of the underworld where we're limited, we're in bondage, and we can still see and taste and feel, we can even love, but we haven't activated our alchemy where we have such a greater identity. That is what this work is about. On winter solstice, on Christmas, on the birth of this Christos, the magical child, through the womb of the Virgin Mother, we receive the impulse that is to awaken humanity, but mostly to awaken our hearts. And so I'm going to go on and read at that moment, the Star of Bethlehem, which we also call the Star of Venus, is overlighting Jacob Port. And once you know in that moment who calls me, my son, that is so funny. Okay, just taking a moment here. That's really amazing. At that moment, my son called me, my son Jacob, and his name is, well, he was birthed in this frequency, and his name, I'll just say this, corresponds to the sun on the tree of life. And there's many other correspondences, but that was my seeding in the physical plane was through him. And so that's amazing that he called just now. And sorry about that. Okay, so the Star of Venus, who resurrects the true light, the true pentagram, the true Christ force. And if you've studied with me, you know the work we do with this at this holy, holy moment in the dark, in the radiant darkness. And we're going to step into the light body stargate and experience that darkness, experience that fertilization, and experience that birth to light up this world, but to first light up your own vehicle. So, okay, this is the restoration of the divine feminine temple on the planet. The Virgin Mary in the underworld receives the divine feminine Christ impulse through her purified vessel to begin the great art. We talked about this in the last video. The great art, capital G, capital A, of rebuilding the feminine temple, the female heart and womb as the mother of God in the underworld. All right. And then before I start the goddess report, I just wrote, there are frequencies being beamed. Oh, okay. This was a little note. There are frequencies being beamed to block the higher heart. Unplug from the program. Look around you. Those who are sowing division constantly are not aligned. You cannot sow division once you are in this field. You can work for a cause, but from truth and from wisdom. Unfortunately, most of our platforms now are designed very intentionally to sow division and prevent the unified field of humanity's consciousness. It sows race division. It sows the division of the sexes. It sows the division of the archetypal bodies of the religious revelations, which are not meant to war with each other at all. Each one has come through a stream to activate that soul group and to begin to harness the power of those revelations to work in this for the spirit of truth and the spirit of light on this planet. Humanity wants to worship technology and be told what to do without any understanding of the divine feminine superpowers of their heart. Interesting. I talked about loyalty in the last video. It just came in. We talked about being loyal, but it is true. This is a saying, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything. And I had just jotted that down. You have to know what you stand for, and you have to know who is feeding you that archetype, because you can find truth in everything on the outside, but you can only find partial truth. The whole truth is here. The whole truth is I am. When you know yourself and when you know your organic feminine field, your womb and your heart, your mind, you will understand the precious gifts that we have received from our divine mother and our divine father. We are made in the image of the divine. And through the soul spark, we have come into this world to activate the elemental streams that exist here and to, let's just take a moment, to create the divine circuit of force that unites spirit and matter and that fully awakens the power of divine love in this world. The Christ force is divine love. And so stand for that. Stand for what your guidance on the inside is giving you. And you will be, we also talked about focus. You will understand the precious power of your attention and focus. Because this world is beautiful, it's delightful. There are many beautiful things happening, but you have to reserve a certain amount of your focus for the great work, the great art, the alchemical work that has to be done right now. Because when you look into the field, you can see the chaos that is unfolding. And your island that we talked about in the last video, the island of the heart, is not going to be given to you from the outside. It's not going to be given to you by any powers that be. They're not handing out resurrection. They're not handing out spiritual ascension. That is not what this world is meant to hand out. This world does its job working for the powers that govern this world, and that is what it's meant to do. It gets pretty intense while we're here, but we have to understand. We have to understand the power of our perception, which we'll be talking about in January. And when I do Archetypes of 2024 on New Year's Eve, we will be talking about perception, because your perception will determine which you choose and how you choose it. And with what, if you choose your royal path, and if you choose your Christ path, and if you choose your path of life and resurrection, all of that happens in the birth of this impulse right now. And we'll be doing that in the Stargate in just a moment. Okay. We talked about what the solstice portal is. It's the archetypal birth of Christ, the restoration of the feminine temple, the immaculate conception, pregnancy, and birth of our higher Christ consciousness, the birth of the Christ impulse, and the ascension of the human race, the activation of the heart and womb of Mother Mary. Now, we're also talking about the Cancer full moon. And so I'll just take a moment. We'll talk a little bit about the Cancer full moon after I do these 3 pages of the Goddess Report. The Cancer full moon falls on December 26th this year. And so solstice is on the 21st, 5 days later, the Cancer full moon, which is when the moon is in Cancer and the sun is in Capricorn. This is the activation of the axis that holds the mother in Cancer and the father in Capricorn. Now, both of those energies can be, they also hold, Capricorn also holds the feminine deeply, and Cancer also holds the power of the Christ force and the solar deeply. But that full moon this year, in alignment with what we're doing right now, that is the temple. The moon rules Cancer, and it's the Cancer full moon. That is the restoration of the aura. The moon represents our auric field. It represents the higher soul of the world that surrounds our planet. It represents the field that receives the impregnation of the solar force. And so the Cancer full moon, I just want to say that in this video, taking place on December 26th. Make sure to tune into it and understand that is the Virgin Mary, that is the Divine Mother who receives the child of light in her womb to give birth to humanity. And she will be in harmony and alignment with the divine masculine. And Capricorn, interestingly, the sign of the Christ child was born in the sign of Capricorn. Now, we could look at it in many different ways, but for this purpose, for this archetype, and we speak in archetypes, at this moment in time and space, we're opening that field, that Christmas falls in the sign of Capricorn for a reason. Capricorn holds deep, deep wisdom for the birth of the Christ. And so on the Cancer full moon, we have Cancer and Capricorn in talking to each other, speaking with each other, holding space for this birth. It's aligned with Christmas this year. So it's very, very powerful. So, all right, let's do it. Let's do these 3 pages and then we'll step into the Stargate. All right. Going to take a peek down and see who's here. Melody, so nice to see. Oh, so nice to see you. Barry, nice to see you. Maseo Gabbard. Am I the only male here? No, we have some men that show up here. Not as many, but there's actually, I think, quite a few men that don't necessarily speak up. We have quite a broad audience. You would be surprised some of the different groups that show up here, and some of the people I've interviewed over the years that have done even my feminine mentorships. It's a pretty special group and very much attuned to the wisdom. All right, so nice to see you too, Lotus. Ah, yes, the restoration of the auric field, that temple that is desperately needed and that is compromised by some of the things that are happening right now. So, okay, it's good to see a few people on here live, and this is the Goddess Report for the solstice. This is just a quick one. Today, at this solstice, December solstice, in the sign of Capricorn, we are giving birth as we rebuild and restore the feminine temple on this planet to the elevated feminine principle, the activation and ascension of collective feminine consciousness. Now, this feminine is not in competition with the masculine, but we're working with the power of the mother to give birth. And so each one of us contains a mother within our being. That mother is our holy heart, as well as our pineal gland and our sexual center, and as well as our auric field. Christ came not for the world, but for Mary Magdalene, but for Magdalene, to restore her feminine temple and raise her solar feminine dragon goddess to meet the mother of her own earth core and the cosmic feminine Christ impulse, the Holy Spirit. We often say in Light Body Woman, the Holy Mother Spirit. Now, if this is sounding kind of religious, we will just look at those archetypes. The Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit as the descent of the dove or the descent of the white energy, the cosmic field of cosmic aether, and the consciousness that allows us to activate gnosis. We talk about I am, I know I am. We're referring to gnosis with I am. Magdalene, representing the human race and the feminine and the planet herself, in her path of alchemy, receives the Christ impulse to work with her seven portals and to reclaim them as these spiritual feminine forces that activate the astral level. We often talk over the years about balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine on the astral plane. And so in order to do that work, we have to be able to, and this is the higher astral. The higher astral is attached to the sun, whereas the lower astral plane is it's the dark side of the moon or the distorted part of our subconscious mind. So it's the part of our creative vessel and our consciousness that has many layers. The lower astral plane is where all of the memories that are held in the human race, all of the archetypes, all of the tricksters and the archons dwell. And it is really the where most of the human race is deriving their impulse to act and it's connected to the carnal. And so this is not to put down the carnal forces of desire, because we need, as I'll talk about in just a moment, some carnal desire. We need a little bit of that sexual appetite and activation to have desire. And so, but it's just a small amount in alchemy that's necessary in order to pierce the veil of that murky layer. And so I'm just talking right now about that being the lower astral. That's also the shell that binds us in. And currently, what's happening is that there are forces that are seductive, that create the path in the labyrinth to go towards a further enslavement or a further shell around our consciousness, so that the consciousness is still powerful, but it can be used by the lords of the underworld rather than our own sovereignty. So our sovereignty is our I am and our Christ force, and our sovereignty is the integrated power of our creative imagination and our divine feminine circuitry of force. So Christ came from Magdalene, and through their union was able to impregnate her field, her aura, with a path to heal the forces of Lilith. And there's more, but I think we're going to just take a moment and see what comes after this. We talk a little bit about Lilith, I think, in a couple pages. The solar feminine dragon goddess holds the fire of the sexual impulse, the sexual fire, the sexual dragon fire or dragon current, and the vision. And so it's that union. This is what I meant to say. This gives it the union of the above and below grants vision. We refer to the divine feminine visionary in light body woman. It's only through that union that we can see through the illusions. When you think of the sign of Pisces, and I think Shay, you had mentioned Neptune and Pisces, or was it? I'll look in just a moment. Yes, that's what you said. This world is filled with optical illusions, and we can still live in this world and have a really beautiful life. But there it's like the codes are telling us two things. It's like Alice in Wonderland, or it's like walking through the forest. And in one frame, you can hear them saying one thing, and in one state of consciousness, you hear a different world. This is the power of vision. And the power of vision is also the power of Capricorn. And so, if you're following me, this is Divine Feminine Astrology. Capricorn grants us vision to build. And right now we are rebuilding the feminine temple, the temple of vision, the temple of imagination, the temple of Christos Sophia, so that we are no longer enslaved and bound. And again, this world is beautiful, and we worship the forces as they are and appreciate all we have. But we understand at this point that with the birth of the Christ comes the beginning of our path to reclaiming vision and the seven portals of light. The cosmic feminine Christos impulse. The Cancer full moon activates the deep feminine mother principle in the astral dimension of the human race. This current is aligning with the energy portal of the solstice, seeding to raise the mother into position for birth. So the mother comes into position for birth. If you've birthed a physical child, you know that there's certain processes that have to happen. The water breaks, the dilation comes, and then the path through the birth canal begins. This is very, very sacred, because this is what is happening with us right now. And there was a year I did 21 videos. I don't know if we did all 21 leading up to solstice. That is a playlist. It was called I Am Goddess Activation. We talk a lot about the process of divine feminine birth through the birth canal this time of year. The feminine womb, is aligning the energy portal of the solstice and seeding it to raise the mother into position for birth at solstice. In 2024, the cosmic feminine will align with the earth to claim her vessels as her sons and daughters divine. The feminine womb will be prepared to receive the union codes of spirit and matter. The Venusian impulse will be restored as the elevated feminine energy body that holds the circuitry of divine feminine force. Divine feminine energy activation is possible only through the receiving of the Christ force as the impregnation and fertilization of the esoteric feminine dimension. So you can hear we're saying these words over and over. There's a reason for that. This one's repetitive, and repetition is mantra, and it acts upon your feminine consciousness. So this body of work, if you've been with me for a while, know that we work with symbols and archetypes and the power that they contain as the condensed light and instruction set. And so words as mantras are acting upon your feminine dimension. And that is why we talked a lot about discernment and discrimination, the sword of truth, Zain. We act with this power to protect our womb and to protect the child in the womb, that it may be birthed and become our new auric field. So the esoteric feminine dimension. This dimension is only available to the pure of heart, which is what the Virgin Mary represents. The Virgin Mother Mary is the receiver of the first impulse. Magdalene is the receiver of the second impulse, and Lilith is the receiver of the third and final feminine Christ impulse. There's some codes in here. So the Virgin Mother Mary, as the incarnation of Isis, of Hathor, of the cosmic mother, comes in and into the underworld with a pure heart to restore the lineage on the planet by giving birth. And then she goes through this sacrifice that is required of all initiation, is deeply rooted in sacrifice, crucifixion. So at this time, the mother is birthing the child that will be sacrificed, that will also sacrifice her heart. Through the feminine sacraments and sacrifices, the heart of the feminine breaks open, and all the joy that comes with the birth also contains the foreknowledge of what is to come, the great sacrifice or the great art. The mother holds all of this. She knows that with her son, she too will experience the death and resurrection. So, in this moment of birth on the planet, we just take a moment for all of us to reclaim. It's when the woman, as well, when the woman is with child and gives birth, she says yes. And that's why it was profound that my son called at that moment that I said birth, that I talked about this. This has happened, it happens all the time in my world. But it that was the seed of a great sacrifice. And in his case, his name represents the son, Yaakov or Jacob. So we all claim this path when we give birth at solstice or at Christmas or Yule. We claim the beauty of the human journey. We claim the beauty of our alchemical journey. We claim the power of the human heart. The mother represents, as the Madonna and child, the highest archetype of unconditional love when that choice is made. When we say yes, we know, and especially on the spiritual path, the level that will come with that contract. And some of us come in knowing even before it happens, which was my case in the work that I do. And still, the surprises are there. There's no way to understand it fully. And if you even look at the Gospels and the scriptures, say the same thing, especially in the esoteric teaching. There's no way, you know it's coming, but you could never fully comprehend that level of sacrifice and initiation. The Virgin Mother Mary is the receiver of the first impulse, Magdalene. Okay, we said this. and then down to, we'll be talking more about Lilith in the next month. The resurrection of Venus happens through the birth of the solar feminine impulse in the human race. On solstice, we activate the heightened womb consciousness. We penetrate the dark barriers to claim the purest dimension, the radiant darkness that holds the ovum, the female ovum of the sign Cancer, the egg, the seed, the feminine seed, the pristine egg of the Virgin Mary. We call the Sophionic egg or the Sophionic ovum, and her aura of cosmic ether. So this was really this was deep for solstice, and it wasn't as lighthearted as just like the light has come. But for those who have ears to hear, this is the work that we do here at Art of the Feminine. And so if this is work that you feel called to, make sure to come see us. Just one moment. I have to see if there's an emergency here. I'm on a video, so I'm going to call you back in a moment. Yeah. Okay, bye. Okay, so that was my son. I feel like the woman in the movie Love Actually, which is funny because it was actually a Christmas movie where she's the caretaker of her brother and she's on a date, but the phone keeps ringing and she can't say no to it. And finally she's like, I have to get it. If anyone knows the movie Love Actually, it's actually about Christmas, which is kind of funny. He never calls me that many times in a row, so I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything big. Okay, so let's just take a moment. We're going to step into the Stargate. We're going to do the solstice activation. It's really important that this solstice activation, humanity is traveling through this now. These initiations and these sacrifices that are really to wake us up are happening now. The reason that we have suffering until we no longer need it. Now, that's not to condone any suffering. I talked about what's happening in the world. I talked about what's happening in the world in the last video without going too deep into it, to the conflicts that are happening in the war planet right now. And we are going to send huge blessings for activation when we go in. All right. The mother-father axis, the conception of Christos, the archetypal union. So this is both conception and birth. All right, so let's just take a moment. I'll take a quick peek down. Then we'll do about a 15-minute activation. Again, this was a long video. I just want to say before we do it, coming up until July or up until January 19th, I'm going to be posting a lot and doing things as I can about the coming date and what's coming. So make sure, I'm just going to say it now. First of all, please follow, like, and subscribe. The likes help as there's some algorithm issues happening right now. And make sure to follow on social media at Art of the Feminine. I'll take a peek down to say hi. Hi, Kim. Oh, Kim, nice to see you. I saw your message today. Lisa, always. And I know you're, oh my God, and so nice to see so many of you are going to be in Light Body Tantra. Just a reminder that Light Body Tantra is going to be a new level. So I'm re-recording it, but it's going to be a complete new level. And before we go in, I'll just remind you that the sign up is underneath the video or at the Art of the Feminine Instagram page. And so we're just going to take a moment. I'm going to ask everybody to imagine that you're standing on a platform. I imagine they're like little Stargate portals, like in Star Trek, where you step up on it and just imagine you're in your portal, and you're just going to see yourself standing on it, and just really feel your physical body. But I want you to see yourself as the mother that is giving birth at this Christmas. And so whether you're male, female, non-binary, makes no difference. You're just going to take a moment, and as you're standing on your circular platform, this is the platform that we're going to release the densest sheath that envelopes our senses. So when we talked about that sheath, that archontic shell that prevents us from having full vision and full sensory perception in the world, what we do when we step on this and we drop that sheath, we prepare to enter into the stargate, which is really the light body womb, and the place where we can all meet in that field of goddess intelligence and goddess light and wisdom. So as you're standing, and I'm sitting, but I imagine your imagination is absolutely the portal into being able to work with the body and outside the body. We see yourself standing on the portal, and just see yourself at this time of year. It's so blessed. And on the 19th today, we have the day of the sun moving up to the solstice on the 21st. And just imagine yourself as the feminine polarity to spirit that has been impregnated with the divine seed, and you're preparing to give birth. But as the holy woman, you stand in your garments of divinity and humanity on this portal. And so, what we do is we take 3 breaths together, and on the third exhale, we're going to let that sheath fall through. So, it's a trap door. So, the trap door opens and the sheath falls through. And then you're going to feel your body it's going to quicken your consciousness cellularly. You're going to release some of that at the nucleus in those cells and those atoms. The solar feminine nucleus is going to start to pulse through your body as you release the dense sheath. And then we will step into the stargate. The stargate is a huge circle. We're all on our platforms around this circle, just to set that up. It's a huge circle, which is our womb. And so we're all gathered on our platforms, and on the third exhale, you're going to imagine that the portal opens and the dense sheath drops. And so just taking a deep breath in and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And the last breath in. And now, as you exhale, the sheath drops through when that circular portal opens. And now you're just taking a moment to feel yourself, feel it sliding off you. If there's any resistance, you can give it an extra breath. But now, just standing here for a moment, we will all attune with each other before we step into the stargate. And so just feeling us representing the entire human race standing around this circular space, this womb space, the global womb space. And so on the count of 3, with our right foot, we're each going to step into this field, and we're going to meet each other in it and see what it holds. And then we'll do a short meditation. And so on the count of 1, 2, and now on 3, you're just going to take your right foot, and we're all going to step in to this field. And we're entering into the dark, starry night of winter solstice. For those of you who are at summer solstice, if you want to place the solar feminine summer energy there, feel free to. But if you participate in the dark, starry night, you are working with the northern impulse to ascend, which is represented by the path of the sun in the north, as we're moving upwards in time and space, which is really, could be said, moving deeper inwards. Upwards and inwards can represent the same, and truthfully, the height and the depth are unified. It's that point that we're in. And so now just feeling yourself, and you might just like feel your body and just appreciating your body, appreciating that you have a physical body, your hands. Your hands hold the powers of the angels. The angels work through our fingers. The planetary forces and the meridians that work through our hands are absolutely divine. The forces that work through our eyes as vision are divine, and we're free. We're in the space of liberation and birth. The sounds that work through your throat are the codes of the entire creation, the Logos power, the Sophia Logos. The beating of your heart is the eternal music of creation. Your breath represents the cycles of the in breath and the out breath, the cycles of time and space, the currents that we ride into matter and back into the source in the highest dimensions. When we just take this moment to realize that this vessel came for birth, we are birthers. We are self contained, but the process of alchemy is a process of birthing. We create, we are fertilized, we organize the materials, we create the body, and then we birth it. And so in this case, let's just see where we're meant to go. Okay, so we're going to establish the Star of Bethlehem as the Venus star above us. And so I want everyone to just bring their focus now in awe. It's like the three wise men being guided by the Star of Bethlehem. You're just going to look up and imagine we're all captured by this radiant light of Venus. She's sending the higher impulse and the higher solar feminine Christ impulse to our hearts, to our pineal glands, to our solar plexus, and to our auric field. She is imprinting our throat with new codes of speech and sound. And she's reminding us that we hold the template, what we've often referred to as the Christos Sophia code of sacred union in the heart. She's activating this template on this day of birth. She carries the cosmic currents of the Divine Mother, of the Cosmic Mother. You could even say Isis, Sophia, Cosmic Sophia, Hathor. And she works through this vessel of Venus to activate the planet with these higher codes, the codes that are the restoration of the feminine temple. Not until we rebuild this temple are we able to reclaim the new world. And this world, this temple is the work of everything we do here. This is the temple I think we had one called the Inner Temple of Light. As we establish the foundation of this temple, we establish the foundation of birth. And so in this case, it becomes the manger in your own heart. And so just taking a moment, this is really beautiful. I want you to look inside your heart. And as the child, you might see your inner child as the Christ impulse inside you. And just as that child is so pure and so divine, as the Virgin Mother Mary that we all are, as we took on this archetype before we stepped in touch with Venus, in touch with the lunar feminine, the Cancer full moon. Just take a moment to see this child in your heart. As a woman, you may see the child in your womb. You may see the throne of the higher lunar feminine around your pineal gland. and just relating to this child that you're about to give birth to, this child that has come in that holds everything for your life and for the planet, this child that is born needing to be nurtured and cared for and watched over, but will be raised in the frequency of your wisdom to become strong and to become capable of acting on its own in the material world. In the same way we raise a child, at first the child needs full protection. It cannot do anything. It is birthed from the womb. It's helpless. And the mother and father begin to, and the mother feeds the child and she speaks to the child and she gets eye contact with the child and she relates to the child even before birth. If you've ever experienced this, you know that you are putting unconditional divine love into this child even before it enters the world. So as the child, when the child is here, you're watering that child with your love, and the child is receiving it, energetic codes coming from you, and and it begins to take on the powers that it's come in with and communicate with you. And in the same way, if you've ever raised a child, you know that at a certain point they're giving you so much that it becomes the light of your life. It's such a powerful connection, and the love is unconditional. The love of the mother of the child in its heightened form, the Madonna and child, is more unconditional than most human love relationships by far, because it's not connected to the lust principle. And so the the love is unconditional. It's not based on carnal principles. It's based on soul knowledge and soul connection. This is a love that we are birthing in the human race. Now, that's not to say that there's specific requirements when we enter into a love relationship, and there needs to be some discrimination and discernment. We talked about that in the last video with Gemini, but that work has been done. At this point that we birth the child, we've already chosen our partner. And if you're birthing the Christ child, you've chosen your partner to be the divine. Because only through our connection to the divine do we receive that impregnation and imprint. And so now we're just going to take a moment to feel the quickening. Let's imagine that the womb, unless you're a woman and you really want to see it for whatever purposes, if you're desiring to become pregnant, but otherwise we'll see the womb as our auric field around us. This is really powerful. So the auric field is around us, and that is our womb. We are inside the womb. You see where we're going with this? So just take a moment to see yourself inside the womb of your aura, that sphere of creative forces that magnetizes the higher spiritual forces from the higher astral plane and beyond, on into the archetypal divine plane. If you haven't imagined yourself receiving that from on high, the cosmic intelligence, just take a moment to see your auric field lit with that penetration. And now to imagine that it is you inside that has been in gestation in the underworld. And that as this watery womb around us of the cosmic aether begins to quicken and activate with that impulse, We draw up from the earth the power of birth, the power of will to contract and to give birth, to make it through the birth canal, where we're squeezed and tested and we have to fight many times. So just taking a moment to receive all these forces quickening around you as you're in this womb. And just connected to your breath now, taking a moment in the same way the mother breathes when she's giving birth. Take a moment now. Let's take 1 minute of deep breathing to just see yourself beginning to quicken before birth. And now, like a flower opening to the sun, in this darkness, you're going to begin to see the flower in your heart start to open. And one by one, the petals fall away until you are the continuation of the very stem and the root, and you are the blossoming of the solar Christ force. As the child of God. And if you want, you can see in the nucleus of the flower, and you could see the petals around you, cradling you in this manger, and just holding you in this Sophionic light. We often say the Sophionic sound and light codes, and just receiving them through this radiant darkness. And now you realize that you play all parts. It's as you were the mother, now you are the child. You are what has been birthed in your higher body. And you still have your relationship with the earth, but now your perception is that of the Christed vision. And so from this place, all of us are just going to celebrate the solstice under this radiant starry sky, this starry night, in this beautiful, beautiful landscape in the wilderness, where although it is dark, pitch black dark, other than the diamond like radiating, twinkling stars, we have been birthed into this world and we understand who we are. We understand how we are all connected, but not only that, how we are cosmically connected, how we are truly multi-dimensional, how we can embrace the earth with our spirit, how we can hold sovereignty of how we direct our force. Yes, because the battle is for the womb and the imagination. In this state, we understand our value. We understand the value of each and every single person. There is no difference between you and I. Only the state that we are tuned into can be different. And the amount of energy we're capable of holding can be different. But other than that, we are all part of the one Son of the divine. And so now in this state, we're just going to take a moment to send out goodwill to the entire human race for this holiday season. in 2023. There's a lot of suffering on the planet right now. There are a lot of people in darkness that is not radiant darkness, but that is a terrible, terrible darkness. And I was shown before this live stream that we are meant to, in this heightened space, when we send energy, I've talked about this a lot, to other people, they receive it. They receive it. Absolutely, we are connected. And so if you want to just take a moment, I'm thinking especially of the war torn areas right now in the Middle East. And there are many, and there have been many. This is not the first, and it will not be the last. But if we can take a moment to send this light and this impulse, it is through the most horrific circumstances, oftentimes, and the greatest tragedy and sacrifice that we have huge awakenings. And so, those spiritual beings who are called, may they receive our light. It is our intention to send this well being, safety, accommodations, food and water and care and shelter to those who are receiving these impulses right now. And they will receive, and they are receiving. So just taking a moment, if we each send love, however you see it, it will be different for us, whether it's one person, a group of people, a family of people, a whole race. And we ask, yes, and there's healing needed everywhere. This is all of humanity. Those innocents and those human souls who are trapped, may they receive the light of this solstice through our gathering here. And now we just bow and we thank them, because I'm seeing light being sent back in a really beautiful way, and gratitude being sent back. So now, as we're all in this space, we've been the Virgin Mother, we've been the Christ child, and now we've been the birth of our own Christ body. Just taking a moment to relate to each other with wisdom and with truth and with knowledge with a capital K, and with the festivities of the goddess. May you take this wisdom and this love with you to your families and to your friends. May you be divinely guided to spread light in this world. It does not mean that we don't see what is happening. It just means that we use our power to heal it and not to create more of it. That we are guided. There are healers, and then there are healers. There are teachers, and then there are teachers. And we, in this form, we hold healer with a capital H and teacher with a capital T, worthy of those titles. And not that we even need to mention it to anybody, but through contact with us, through thoughts, we send that light. And so I'm just going to ask that we all receive an archetype for solstice, like we often do. Take a moment, receive a gift like we do at the Christmas season. Saint Nicholas is a deep, deep archetype of the one who brings us the gift of awakening in the heart. The red and white as the colors of alchemy at the season, the green and red as the colors of alchemy during the season, the gold and silver, the solar and lunar at this alchemical season, knowing it's a big one. And so just receiving your gift under the solstice tree. What is it that you're being given? What is the key? You may receive a key. What is the key to 2024? What is the key to healing what you need to heal? A relationship, a home, your gifts, your purpose. And so I want to close by all of us just bowing to each other, understanding that the division in humanity is not something we have to say yes to. We can witness it, but we don't have to take it into our own heart. At this time, it's time to let it go. Work as a magnet to bring people to the higher place, the higher consciousness. We can war all we want on that playing field, which is going to continue to intensify. Or we can walk that field while carrying the higher teachings and the higher knowledge of forgiveness, of love, of joy, creativity, of understanding the world that we are building together on this day. And so just ask, is there any last thing we're meant to know? Okay, so she's just saying that seeing yourself, the impulse from above, the cosmic mother, this is something we often do, receiving the higher supernal mother into our hearts, the heart of our being, receiving the lower earth mother up through our spine into our heart, and now seeing the integration of the divine feminine and divine masculine in your heart, knowing that this is the birth. This is what will happen at the Cancer full moon, the balancing of the lunar and solar forces, so that this area that was compromised, the astral, the spiritual plane, can be reclaimed for humanity. And we'll leave it at that as the cradle of the Christ force. And so, that being said, I bow to each and every one of you and say, happy, happy, happy solstice. And we will be back on New Year's Eve. It's a Sunday. I'll be on at 12 noon Eastern time. It's early in California, evening. It's kind of early evening in Europe and in the rest of the world. So I hope you can, in Australia, New Zealand, I hope you can join us. It's a little bit early the next morning. We're going to be doing archetypes of 2024, and we're going to go to town talking about the archetypes. And again, please, if you're here, give the video a thumbs up. If you've enjoyed it, come back and leave solstice comments. Let me know what you're doing for solstice. I will be checking in a lot in the next couple weeks. And again, Light Body Tantra is January 22nd, Divine Feminine Wisdom School kicks off a year in January, and Light Body Woman on January 19th. Amen, amen, amen. So be it. Namaste. Thank you so much. I'm just going to peek down and see. It looks like there's still some people on. Oh, thank you for the thumbs up. It really helps. And if you know people, Sophia, so nice to see you. And Sheila and Elizabeth and Tennille, so good to see you. Oh, this is great. If you haven't said hi, do. So much holiday love. What was I going to say? Oh, please let people know. I'm reaching out. I'm looking. I have many lists of all the people I've ever worked with, but I'm going to be letting, hi, Martha. So nice to see you. I'm going to be letting people know. And Maria, so nice to see you. I will be letting people know, let people know to find me if they haven't been here in a while. And if you have groups of people, especially women that are interested in this work, I'm asking you to start sharing it now and let people know it's coming, because it's coming, it's birthing, and it's going to be a really powerful birth for humanity. And so, that being said, sending everyone just huge, huge goddess holiday blessings. And I hope to see you soon. All right. Thank you so much.